Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna do the last and third video of our Vital preset sound design series. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I just created a free preset pack with Vital, of course with Psytrance sounds, and it is available to download down below in the description box for free. So today, basically, it's the last portion of our sounds within that preset pack, but we're going on the sound design portion, and we're just gonna go over 4 sounds today. These sounds are gonna be more like sound effects, grid sounds, or like stabby filler sounds. And yeah, let's just go ahead and check the first one right now. All right, guys, before we get started with any of the presets today, I just wanna mention something really important. I'm going to apply this low cut to every preset that I'm going to be creating today, but I just wanted to show you this here, and because I'm not going to do this over and over and over again, it's going to get redundant. But yeah, this is something that's really important for every preset that you will be having within the preset pack. Just make sure whenever you create something, just make sure this low cut is applied. And I mean, it's just a good practice anyways to leave that space for kick and bass. But yeah, I just want to show this here right now, and I'm not going to be showing this again and again today. But yeah, and with that being said, let's just go ahead and get started with our first preset of the day. All right, here we are in Cubase, and the first one that I want to go over is called Foreman Slushies, and it sounds something like this. So as you can see, it's like a filler sound maybe in between your drops and stuff. And so yeah, let's just go ahead and recreate it. All right, here we are in Vital, and I think for this sound, I just use one wavetable, which is this creepy solar one. And I think I frequency modulated it with another oscillator. But of course, this is gonna be benign, so we just put the level all the way down. And our oscillator shape is something like this. Okay, so as I said, I frequency modulated the first oscillator with the second one. And for this to work properly, I think it's gonna be good for us to put this randomization down on both. And we can get this frequency modulation here. So let's just hear how this sounds by itself. Okay, so maybe that's like too much of modulation. Lower it down a bit, and I think it was too high. So I'm just gonna pitch this down 2 octaves. All right, that's whereabouts in the spectrum you want to have this sound sit. So now I think I just did something like this, slightly different position. And the second thing I did was to put this algorithm here, which is spectral time skew. By the way, I changed the pitch over here, and it depends on, you know, what you're hitting on your keyboard. You can be an octave higher or lower, but for whatever I'm hitting on my keyboard, this was the right pitch. Now that we are done with our oscillators, let's go ahead and move on with our modulations and filters. So for the filter, I mean, as the name suggests, we use the Foreman filter. So I think I just used the first one. There's 2 Foreman filters. You can change it up to taste. Let's see how this sounds by itself. Okay, that sounds good. So I think I put this peak down a bit, so we don't have like too spiky tips. And the way we modulate it, the filter happens to be coming from this random modulator. So just drag and drop it over here. Okay, and the random modulator has this algorithm, sample and hold. So we enabled stereo here and the sync. And it's gonna be 1/16, there you go. So let's just hear how this sounds. We hear pretty much gist of the sound, and I think I had one other modulation for this time skew algorithm here, and that comes from random. So just drag and drop it over here. It's basically like note on random on Serum. So every time you hit a note, it's just gonna change how much this time skew is getting applied to our wavetable. It's not necessarily changing the wavetable position, but rather how much modulation this algorithm is applying to our wavetable. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, so that's pretty much how our modulations work. You can, of course, adjust this to taste. You can use a different format filter, however you want to do it. I'm just showing the way that, I created this preset. And so on the effects panel, we just have two simple things. The first one is being the distortion, and the second one is going to be delay, but we want to put the distortion first on the signal route. All right, so let's just hear how it sounds right now. All right, that sounds pretty good. Just one thing I want to mention right now is that whenever we create the sound, remember we use this modulation, which means you have to use different meter notes if you want to affect this algorithm here, that modulation. So for that reason, I use these meter notes over here, which is 1/16 meter notes. So that means every time these meter notes get hit, that time skew spectral algorithm is gonna kick in. So now you'll be able to hear and actually see how that's gonna play out here. That's pretty much the first of our presets for today. Let's just hear with some kick and bass now. All right, that sounds pretty good. Now let's go ahead and continue with our second sound of today, which is this metal fill sound. Our metal fill sound is going to sound something like this. All right, here we are in Vital again, and for this sound, I think I used two oscillators. The first one being this solar powered, and the second one is actually, again, frequency modulated by the third one. So I just left it as is here and put the randomization down, and the randomization down on this one too. And I just modulated it with a basic sine wave. There you go. And the first oscillator, I used some algorithms on it. Of course, we have to tell this to be modulated. And I think for the first oscillator, I used two different algorithms. The first one being, again, this time skew. Something like this. And I turned down the phase on this as well. And I put the phase position somewhere around here. We just want to make sure that this second oscillator is also going through filter 1. So that's pretty much how our oscillators are shaping up right now. Let's just hear how they sound. Before I do that, I'm just going to take this an octave down. All right, now we can go ahead and apply our filters. So our first filter is this bandpass filter, and I think I just cranked up the resonance on this, and the drive goes up to somewhere here. And the second filter is this notch spread. So we just want to do some housekeeping here, and we just want to make sure that this filter 1 is going through filter 2. For that reason, I'm just going to tap on this, and I want to make sure that I don't have these selected on the second filter, because I want to make the oscillators go through filter 1 first and then filter 2 after. That's about how our filters are. So let's just go ahead and go through our modulations. So just like our previous preset, I use random modulator on these parameters. So you can just follow me do this here. That's the first one. The second one is here. And the third one goes to the filter. Filter is positioning. Something like this. So this basically is going to, affect, again, we just have to use those like 1/16 meter notes for this to actually take effect. So let's just hear how it sounds. The second modulation is going to be our velocity, and for this one, I'm just going to show you how to activate it. It's pretty much like what we did on our previous presets, but this one pretty much goes to these two parameters on the second filter, and right here. Okay, something like this. So in order to activate it, we just have to tell Cubase to apply different velocities every time a note gets hit. And for that matter, we can just go to our MIDI modifiers. And as you can see over here, under MIDI modifiers, we have this random. And we just pick velocity. And I don't go too crazy with these, because you can go all the way to 120. But I think I just left it somewhere here. And for this one, maybe something like this. So now let's just hear how it sounds. So yeah, as you could see over there, every time we hit the note, it's a different velocity, of course, the human finger. So this was also moving as well as this one. So that's about, you know, all the oscillators, filters, and modulations of this preset. And the gist of the actual sound happens to be coming from this effects section. And I'm just gonna go through this, and I'll be right back. So yeah, this is pretty much what I came up with. I'm not gonna go through all of them one by one. You can just, you know, take a snapshot of this screen, and I'll just show you how it sounds right now. All right, that's pretty much the second preset of the day. And I just want to make sure that you use these MIDI notes, and these are the MIDI notes I used for it. So I had some, you know, 1/32nd MIDI notes as far as the length goes, and then 1/16th notes. You can do any, you know, roll of your choice. Just make sure you have different MIDI notes with this preset. Our third preset is called Throat Filler, and it sounds something like this. All right, let's now go ahead and create this one from scratch as well. Okay, so here we are in Vital again. And for this sound, I think I used two oscillators. The first one being actually just the init oscillator, but I used this algorithm over here, and this one as well. So you can see how much these are already like creating, you know, great amount of modulation and the drastic change that happens in the sound. And the second oscillator is this sauce for days. And again, we want to make sure on the second oscillator that it's going through filter 1. And for this one, I used the smear algorithm, just a tiny bit. And the second algorithm is this band algorithm here. And I think I just pushed it all the way down like this. Okay, let's just hear how they sound together. All right, that sounds good. And our filter is the high pass filter. I think I pretty much left it where it was, like somewhere on here. But it's the dirty filter rather than the analog one. So dirty 12 dB high pass. So now we can start talking about modulation. For the specific sound, I use this random modulator with sample and hold and 1/16. And I applied it to this one and as well as the smear right here. And our third modulator comes again from this velocity, and it goes to the wave table position of our second oscillator. All right, that sounds good. So again, since we're modulating these, I just put them an octave down. So we want to hit, like, you know, those spots that we want to fill in our spectrum in the mix. So that's pretty much the gist of this first page. Now we can go ahead and just check what we did on our effects panel. And for this one, again, similar to the other presets we've gone over in the past, I use a distortion unit first. and then just a delay basically. And mind you that we use this wet velocity for a reason. And again, the reason for that was that we would have 16th MIDI notes on our timeline. So the velocity gets applied. And again, as we mentioned before, we just have to go in here on Cubase. I think, I mean, every DAW has something similar. I know Ableton has something similar, and Cubase has this. I know Logic Pro has it too. So yeah, let's just hear how it sounds right now. All right, so I just changed this oscillator again. Again, it's, you know, it depends on your taste, guys. Just use your ears basically. And let's just hear this third one with some kick and bass now. All right, so that's our third sound of today, and let's move forward to our fourth and last sound of today. So our last one is called Clicky Dungeon Bars, and this was actually something that wasn't included in the original preset pack, but I'm going to upload this after I shoot this video. And so if you download it with the same link again, you'll be able to get this one in the preset pack as well. So I think I added one previously before, and with this one it's gonna have like 14 or 15 presets instead of previously mentioned 12 presets. So let's just hear how this sounds by itself. Clicky Dungeon Bars. All right, so here we are in Vital again, and let's just create that sound from scratch. So for this sound, we use two oscillators. The first one being Water Razor, and the second one being this Squish Flange. So I think I put face down on both. On the first one, we applied this vocode. Also on the second one, we applied some squeeze. Also something like this. Okay, so as far as how they're getting applied to filters, both oscillators are actually going to go through filter 1 and 2 at the same time. So they're going to be not sequentially sent through the signal chain, but like in the parallel way. Hopefully that makes sense. So for the second oscillator, we apply a form and scale and also quantize. And we change the positioning to something like this for this one and something like this for the second oscillator. So let's just hear how they sound right now. All right, so I pushed the second oscillator like an octave down here. And now we can go through our filters and modulations. Our first filter is going to be a phaser filter, and it's going to be negative. Our second filter is going to be a formant filter, and we're going to leave it on the first one. Push down the peaks a bit. Change the positioning to something like this, and I think I did something like this. So now, as far as the modulations go, we apply this note on random to both our filters. For the first one, it goes to this lower part. And I think I mentioned this before, the formant filter's positioning, it goes on the top rather than the bottom. So let's just leave it somewhere here, and let's just hear how this sounds right now. Again, this is something you will be able to adjust to taste. And now we can go through our effects chain. Okay, on our effects chain, we're going to have a distortion, a flanger, and a delay. And yeah, let me just go over these and then I'll be right back. All right, so this is pretty much how our effects chain looks like. Let's just hear them now with the effects applied. And one last thing I want to mention, this sound is supposed to be more like plucky. So for that reason, we just have to adjust our envelope settings here and make it something like this, something more plucky. And let's just hear how it sounds right now. All right, so that's pretty much how our fourth preset sounds, and let's just now hear with some kick and bass. All right, guys, that's pretty much it for today. You can download the preset pack down in the description box below. There's going to be like a Google Drive link. And yeah, please let me know what you think of the videos. Like the video if you liked it, unlike it if you unliked it, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of the content. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.